All right. Well, good morning to all of you. And it's Matthew and I just left a third grade student meeting. Um, and I just wanted you to know your kids are ready. We are older and wiser than we were last spring. And so we had the gift of starting this year with a good plan. So we view, as we said to the kids, the goal is not to be on screen 7 hours as a school day is. The remote is to do important, essential instruction, and then give our students windows where they can do some work independently. We told our students how important it is for them to take brain breaks, and they all have in hand their individualized remote schedule that they will put in their binder. And I just wanted to let all of you know, we really emphasized how important it is that they stick with their schedule so they can get a great balance. You see, I've got on there engagement is critical. And so we want to watch very closely, particularly our first day of remote, just to be sure our kids are feeling comfortable, they're engaged, they know how to engage. And parents, we are so open for parent feedback. If there's anything you see and observe at the home front, please let us know. But our goal is to have our kids completely engaged and understanding their schedule. Just a couple of quotes I've got there. So online learning, it is a really strong delivery modality that supports the mastery of content. The goal is not clocking number of hours in a seat. We know that is not the goal. At times, it's going to be a great opportunity to solidify many of the skills, and we're all about continuing to solidify here. And at times, it's delivery of a new skill. We're going for shorter, more targeted lessons. Otherwise, the students will drop off, and it's not going to be productive. We Feedback is so important. So we have many opportunities in the schedule where we'll do a big group, a smaller group, individual feedback. In a few minutes, we'll talk with you about your child's schedule. And we're going to talk about something called open classroom, which is the time we're asking all students to jump back on so they can get some extra feedback and ask questions. We want to keep them motivated to want to learn. And so far, they're fired up. And then we're really looking at the essential pieces when we do our remote teaching. And what are the things that we really want them to be able to do in 2 years or more. So the less important things are not going to be brought into remote. All right, we can do next slide.
All right, so the ABCs of Key School Remote, as Dr. Milner and I have gone around and met with each class individually. We just finished meeting with third grade, I believe. Second and sixth we'll be meeting with tomorrow. So we've met with all grades except for second and sixth yet. But each student has a copy of this in their binder. We also can share it with you digitally if your student is in the Bridge program. I'm not going to read all of this to you. Dr. Milner and I are just going to kind of touch on a couple of pieces from each column. So when you look at the first column of accountability and access, really the things that we wanted to kind of highlight were the importance of your students having a dedicated workspace where they can feel comfortable, and it's a quiet space for them to be able to work, and then also being the opportunity for them to email their teachers. They can of course email their teachers throughout the day, but you will see on the student schedules, there are some dedicated times where teachers have office hours, particularly on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, where they'll be able to return those emails if they haven't already returned them at a different time. And then the boundaries and backups, just minimizing distractions and minimizing the distractions. So going back to that dedicated workspace where the student will be able to kind of have the quiet space to work. And then for any technical difficulties, you know, we know in this world of technology, as we've already experienced this morning, as as I've struggled to get this program or this presentation up and running. I apologize for that. Um, with technology, we oftentimes run into issues. So you can always reach out to Karen Kinzer or Bo Atwood, who is our director of technology here at Carolina Day School. If you're having any technical issues, they'll be able to help you out with that. And then Dr. Milner, you want to talk a little bit about the third column?
Sure. Under continuity and care, following a schedule is so important. You know, we're going for a well-balanced day. So we've put all those pieces in the student schedule. And as we told them, if they follow their schedule, they really will not have nighttime home learning. That is our goal through remote. If they'll keep up with their independent work, they will not have nighttime home learning. If your students are under doctor's prescription for medications of any kind, we encourage them to continue with that. Sometimes learning is a little bit more difficult when they make that switch to remote. So it does require a little extra dose of focus and sustaining attention. So as far as the kids are all asking, what's the dress code? And basically parents, it's no jammies, no PJs, and dress down clothes. We want them to be comfortable. We've told them no students coming to class from their bed. As Mr. B already mentioned, we're asking that they figure out where their table, little office area will be. And parents, as we explored this in the spring, I would hop in on a regular basis to classes just to see the dynamic of our remote classes. And maybe the only tricky situation is when we saw eyes completely diverted and we realized the video game was on. So just a little heads up, you can go ahead and unplug that during class time. It'd be very helpful. And just basically, you know, looking at their schedule and letting us know if you see any concerns with engagement or so forth, and we will certainly let you know. But otherwise, we just feel like we're headed into a great week. Okay. So I've listened to Mr. Buchanan do an amazing job with our students, really helping them understand our schedule. I just wanted to talk to the big picture. So once again, balance is the key word, and essential synchronized time, and then opportunities for independent time or movement breaks or snack breaks and so forth. With our remote plan here, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday are the same, with some exceptions as far as what the talents class will be. Wednesday is really designed to be our brain break day, and we will go through that. But the big picture is that for math, we've broken students into smaller groups. Teachers have found that far more effective. They do have some independent time. Language comprehensive, we've got a bigger block, and then we've got some individual time or small group time when teachers know they need to do some follow-up. So I wonder, Mr. Buchanan, would you like me to go into open classroom, or do you want to go ahead and start with our main classes?
Yeah, if I could just mention the kind of the morning time, and then if you want to hop in on the open classroom, I just wanted to help you guys understand this was kind of our general starting schedule. Each of your students have individual schedules in their binders. As we've been meeting with them, we've been taking a look at those. So they're more specific to them. So the kids aren't looking at this entire big picture. They're looking at what their day actually looks like. So again, if they have language comprehensive first in the morning on a day when we are in class together, they will continue to have language comprehensive first in the morning during remote learning. And then the same goes for math. And as Dr. Milner said, we learned so much in the spring, and we saw such a huge change from our families, from our students, and from our teachers when we did go to this model of taking the math classes and actually subdividing them, so to speak, into even smaller groups, where those students are really able to get that more individualized attention from the teachers. So each of your students on their individual schedules, it shows which of those 30-minute blocks for math will be their synchronous Zoom class with their math teacher. And then the other part of their math class will be where they're doing some extension or some independent work, some classwork that the teacher will assign them. So like I said, you'll be able to see that with the students' individual schedule a little bit more clearly. This is, this is a lot to try to digest, but this is the basic framework for the morning.
Okay, and I will add, this does say key lower school schedule overview, and we are going to put up the middle school schedule in just a minute, but the framework is the same. So we thought we'd address some things looking at this one together. And then in a minute, we'll tell you where the differences are. But all of you can see the green there at 11:30, we've got open classroom time. And this was another one that experience taught us, that once students had a chance to dive into their two important morning classes, many times the teachers realized, ooh, with just a little bit of additional instruction in this area, they'll be more successful, or we all need to come together to allow the students to ask questions, which benefits everyone. Or the teacher may use that as a time to tell the students to set individual appointments during that block and then also later in the day. So it is required that all students jump on board for open classroom. Then you see we have a nice lunch period at Key. We have a little over an hour for lunch recess as well. So we just encourage your kids to get into a routine, eat, and then get outside if they can, but definitely get some movement going. In our afternoons, here's our talents lineup. And you can see that, so I won't read all of this, but basically Monday will be a synchronized time, either art or music. We will really clarify the links and the schedule for your students so they know how to access these classes. Tuesday will be core. It'll either be science or social studies. Wednesday, a continuation of our screen-free day. We'll jump over there to the purple in just a minute. Thursdays, you can see, we want that to be a big reading day. You can expect your students to come home with another reading challenge card. And then we're working with Ms. Howell to schedule some time with our librarian. And then on Friday, PE or Healthy Kids. And you see where we have week 1 and week 2. We know we have 2 planned weeks of remote, right? One right after Thanksgiving, one right after the holidays. And then the end of the day, parents, that's office hours for teachers, but it's definitely a time where teachers will be scheduling independent support. Here's a very important thing. I would say maybe with the exception of our second graders, but actually they know how to ask for help remotely. But third on up, we have practiced with the kids how to send an email and not just say, I don't get it, but how to specify what they need help with. And so they may do that at any point during the day. And then the afternoon, this is one of the blocks where we'll also be able to do some individual academic support. We found that the individual time is the gold mine. And then Mr. B, I guess I'll turn Wednesdays over to you.
Okay, so like Dr. Milner said, Wednesday, we're striving for that screen-free opportunity for the majority of the day. As Diane was talking earlier about how much synchronous time versus asynchronous time or screen time, we wanted to use Wednesday as a chance to kind of mix it up a little bit. So there will be a synchronous morning meeting, a Zoom meeting for each class from 8:30 to 9, where they'll come together like they do on any other day when they're here at school for their morning meeting all together. And then there will be a 45-minute core class that matches up really nicely with the Tuesday core class that they were coming off of from the day before. So follow up from whatever they were doing on Tuesday in core. After a break, advisors will use that time to do some advisory check-ins with their students, and they'll schedule those either individually or all together as an advisory. Probably both, actually, is what they'll do. It won't be that they're on the computer from that 10:15 to 11:30 slot. That's just the time allotment for them to be able to set up those check-ins with the students. And then from 11:30 on, that's where we'll have the screen-free creative enrichment. And so as we've been explaining to the students, as we've been going around and having this conversation, you guys may remember a few Fridays ago when we had a teacher work day and the students came home with a screen-free enrichment kind of choice menu of some activities that they could do. It's gonna look a lot like that. It's gonna be that same sort of format for students to be able to do on that Wednesday afternoon. Anything you'd like to add, Dr. Milner, before we go to the key middle school schedule?
I think that was very clear. And parents, we really want to give value to these enrichment projects they're doing. So if they're 2D, we're asking them to bring them in. We've got a file of enrichment. We perhaps will do another showcase as we did last spring. But there's quite an assortment. We're hoping they'll do 3, but we're telling them they're required to do at least 1. So you will get that coming home in hard copy. I will say that there is a cooking thing, which only has 3 ingredients. So, that might be a shopping trip. So you'll have the details on that. There's some PE related activities, some decorating, holiday kind of things. So I think there's something for everybody on there. All right, let's take a look at Key Middle School.
All right, so for Key Middle School, the morning on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, that is exactly the same as the Key Lower School schedules. All times are the same setup. The students have their individual schedule indicating when they have actual Zoom math time versus independent work math time. So everything we just said about Key Lower School is the same for the morning between 8:05 to actually to 1:15. The open classroom is also the same. Where Key Middle School changes a little bit is in the afternoons for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And we've been talking to the students about this, so they're wrapping their heads around. On Monday and Tuesday, they will have a synchronous Zoom meeting with their reading comprehension teachers. And then on Thursdays and Fridays, they'll have a synchronous Zoom meeting with their science/social studies teachers. And then from 1:45 to 2:15, Dr. Milner's working with the Key Middle School talents teachers to offer some talent opportunities there. And then that's also where the Key Middle School teachers will have their office hours to be able to reach out. Wednesdays, slight, very subtle differences from Key Lower School, same basic setup, 8:30 to 9 being the morning meeting where they'll all come together like they do on a day when they're here at school. From 9 to 10:30, again, that is a chunk of time that can be used. It's not that all students will be on a Zoom meeting from 9 to 10:30. But it's a time for advisors to have their small group advisories and do one-on-one advisory check-ins. 10:30 to 12, there will be some independent assignments, and the teachers we've been talking about what that's gonna look like. It could be a reading comp project that a student's working on. It could be something from math, something from LC, but the teachers will work with the students individually about what those independent assignments would be on a Wednesday. And then from 12 to 2:30, again, the Key Middle School will get their version of the menu of things to choose from. We have been talking to the kids about how we would like for them to take an hour of that time on Wednesday afternoon to do some reading. It'd be a great chance for them to practice with Learning Ally, or work on whatever book they're working on in reading comp or in language comprehensive or free reading, if they're reading a book they're really interested in. Anything you want to add there, Dr. Milner?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay, so again, big picture, mornings on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, same setup as Key Lower School, and the students have their individual schedules that we've been talking to them about. All right. So, learning management system. We've been talking to each of the kids about how across Carolina Day School there are some different learning management systems that that grades or grade bands are using. So, in Key Middle School, the learning management system is in fact MyCDS. The students have been practicing with that. They know how to find their assignments. They know how to turn in their assignments. I've been really impressed with, as I've asked them kind of leading questions in the meetings that we've had with them about how do you find an assignment in your LC class. It's been really nice to hear how they walk me through the steps. I go to my LC class in my CDS. I go to the assignment tab. I can also find it on the calendar. It's very obvious that their teachers have been practicing a lot with them on how to find their assignments, and then also to be able to turn their assignments in using the submit feature in MyCDS. So MyCDS is the learning management system for Key Middle School, where they'll find all of their assignments and get their communication from their teachers along with emails. For our 3rd through 5th grades, they're all using Google Classroom, which those teachers also have been practicing with the students on how to navigate Google Classroom, how to find their assignments there, how to turn them in. And then in 2nd grade, you know, the communications for 2nd grade will come via email. Seesaw is a tool that they'll be using. It's not per se an actual learning management system, but it's a tool that we used in the spring, and the teachers will continue to use to leverage that in the ways that they've practiced with the kids. One of the things, well, I'll talk about the apps now. One of the things that we've been talking to the kids about too is you know, given we've asked them to give us a thumbs up for some different apps that we know different grades have been practicing with. And if there's something that a student is not familiar with, the message that we've been telling them is that it's not as if, and it's funny how many kids don't know this this analogy, but I keep saying your teachers aren't going to throw you any curveballs. I thought that was pretty well known expression, but a lot of kids are like, "What do you mean, Mr. B?" But you know, the big message that I keep telling the students is, you guys are ready for this. Your teachers have been preparing you for this for months now. The apps that you have been practicing with are the apps that your teachers are going to use with you. They're not going to all of a sudden expect you to be a pro at something that you've never even heard of before. Some of the apps that you may see, Class Kick is one that a lot of grades have been working with. I think 2nd through 8th grade actually has been working with Class Kick. That one's been one that we've really liked, and we've been implementing this year. Another one is obviously Learning Ally. For that reading support, ear reading while also still eye reading. The Google Read and Write is one that a lot of classes have been using, a lot of grades have been using. Jamboard is one that some classes have used and some haven't. But again, that's a great example of if a class, you know, as I've asked this question to the grades, if they say never heard of that before, I then reiterate, well, if that's not a tool that you are using with your teachers, they're not going to all of a sudden throw you that curveball. Am I forgetting any? I feel like there's some more, Dr. Milner, that have been on
I
the
think
list.
you mentioned Class Kick, and our 2nd grade kids have really been practicing with their new iPads, which will be going home tomorrow, with a variety of different apps. So we may not go into all those, but the theme is that we're not going to require them to use anything that we don't feel like they can do with a high degree of success.
And then, of course, their ability to navigate Zoom. That's where they'll have their synchronous classes with their teachers. So materials, devices, and supplies. We're going to send materials home tomorrow. Sometimes Fridays, you know, can be a little hectic. So we're going to send all the materials home with students tomorrow. That also gives us an opportunity, if there's something that, you know, we missed tomorrow, then, you know, we've got Friday to say, hey, you know, you also, it'd be great if you took this home. So tomorrow's our day to send materials home. And then we've talked to the kids about returning the items on December 7th, and we've We've talked to them about why did we choose December 7th, so that they get this picture of the calendar. That will be our first back in-person learning after our remote week of November 30th through December 4th. All right, so just to recap some of the ABCs of learning, this is a nice picture of a couple of our students in Bridge with Miss Freeman. Miss Freeman's done such an amazing job for us. We're so grateful and so thankful to have her. She was born for this. She's got a real future in remote teaching. Hopefully she also has future in person teaching again as well, because we miss seeing her around the office here. But just to recap some of the ABCs that we talked about earlier, creating that learning space, so important for the kids to have that dedicated space where they know they can go to be able to do their work. Having the materials and the supplies already and nearby, the importance of staying hydrated and having snacks, the quiet, reduced distractions, the uniforms that we talked about earlier. If you need any tech support, you reach out to Ms. Kinzer or Mr. Atwood, batwood@carolinaday.org. That's why it says email batwood. And then just stay in touch if problems arise.
Okay, so I think all of you know there could be tech difficulties on your end. There could be power outages on our end. So there's a variety of things that can happen, but we feel like one thing we have the fine art of grace, and we continue to say thanks to all of you, particularly your grace in the spring. Flexible, we're all trying to look at 2 or 3 different ways to do everything, and we're approaching that with your students as well. So for example, if tech goes out, we'll have a backup plan, and your kids will know what that is. And we want to be responsive. So Matthew and I, very open for any parent communication, phone conversations, and so forth. So there's no question too small. Please ask, because our goal is just a smooth, successful week. All right, we can go to our next one. I did want to say that we have also done a lot of professional development. The whole world has, as far as how to deliver the right excellence in education to our students that learn it and need to process it a little differently. So we've definitely explored different avenues for the auditory, the visual, the kinesthetic. That is why it is an absolute requirement that the kids have their camera on and that they have their mute off. But we certainly give them lots of opportunities to engage. But we're definitely the multisensory and the kinesthetic, the doing, the talking about it, the writing it, the tracing it. Your students, many have been using styluses. We've explored how to use the mouse pad as a writing tool. Class Kick is a tool where the teacher at one viewing can see what every child is writing on their screen. So we have a lot of tools that we can really check in on the individualized engagement. And it was with everything, we approach it simple to complex. And if we hit a wall on something, we back up and say, oops, what's the subscale? So that also applies to technology. So if you notice there's, oh, they don't quite know this, it's awesome if you will let us know, and we can back up and set a one-on-one to help with that. But with everything we do, we personalize, and we really do have a sequence in mind that builds to success, and it's cumulative, repetitive when it needs to be, high cognitive. We always want the kids to know why they're doing what they're doing, why they're tracing, why they're building it, why they're seeing it again, or why they're seeing it again at a higher level. So the why is very important. And then the diagnostic prescriptive, we're watching what they're doing. And if we realize, oop, we need to back up and punt on this one, or whoop, so-and-so's got this one nailed, it's time for us to move on and, add some additional challenges. So we can do every bit of that remotely.
So just a few pictures of some of our students getting prepared. You see we have some second graders who are working with their new iPads with their styluses like Diane mentioned. Miss Holmes and Miss Erico and Miss Ricks have been doing a great job introducing those to the kids. So we're excited to see how that goes. At the bottom in the middle, there's a third grader. I think it's, is it Coles? Might be Coles. So that's third grade practicing with their Zoom meetings, and then again there's another of Miss Freeman's bridge classes that she teaches in our Key Middle School.
So just to mention, so parents of bridge students, your students, if they have not already picked it up, we will be getting their schedule. And so basically the order of things is very similar. For example, if they had LC A period, it will continue to be A period. The times will slightly change. So we do ask that our bridge students have their new schedule out. Bridge students, since all math students will be remoting in and all science and social studies and so forth, their bridge class will be a little more crowded for those classes. But actually they have been Zooming into those classes. And then, so Ms. Freeman has the schedule, the students will have the schedule, and anything, you know, you could do to help as far as being sure they have their schedule handy. And I will say across the board, all parents, wherever their little office area is going to be, if they put all their materials when they bring them home tomorrow, put them in their little office area and have their schedule out, will be very helpful.